All right, we will call the Plan Commission meeting to order. Everybody have a chance to take a look at the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
We got a motion and second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. We have public hearing. Public hearing on a conditional use permit application to operate a multi-use medical office facility in a B2 General Business District at 2651 Hillcrest Drive, Hudson Physicians, Inc. This is a public hearing, so if there's nobody here in the audience that I don't think appears to be that's going to testify or would like to speak. If there's anybody on Zoom, please do not wait for me to call on you because I can't necessarily see you raising your hand. Just feel free to jump on in and also unmute yourself, please. So, again, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone that has a comment? Anyone who'd like to make a comment?
Mayor Chris Anderson.
Hey, Chris.
Anderson talking. Hey, how are you?
You still trapped in that car?
Of course.
You see that, Frank?
All right, go ahead.
All right. So I sent a letter in yesterday to Mike Johnson, and hopefully he had disseminated it to the Plan Commission members and the City Council members. So I guess I'd ask the first question: was that disseminated to everybody?
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Great. Well, then I will not repeat what's in that letter, but there's basically 3 or 4 issues that are identified in that issue, and there are some individuals that are also, I think, I can't see on my phone or even on my computer, that are in attendance by Zoom as well, and that instead of you guys all listening to me again for the 3rd time, I'm going to have them speak to these issues, and I think Dan Vinup is on the call here, and he's going to talk about the water concerns that he has, or that the group has, really. Dan, are you there? Can you talk to that?
Yep, I'm here. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm Dan Vinup. I live at 425 Jack Pine Drive, so I'm directly to the east of the proposed development. And, from my vantage point down the hill, my primary concern, other than the buffer, the trees, all those things, is going to be the management of the water. And specifically speaking about that, I'm concerned about the runoff of the water into the holding ponds, and then what happens to that water after it gets into the holding ponds. Is that bled down into the river through the city sewer system, or treated in some other way? And so if it runs off into the groundwater, I obviously have very, high concerns about it affecting my well and the quality of the water that I have, given the base underneath everything is just pure sand. And so it's going to move pretty freely through that sand. So that's one concern. And then the other concern is around the quantity of the water that we have within the well, and is the development going to affect that quantity of water? So both the quality of the water from the runoff and the quantity of the water from the asphalt and the management of that water into the ponds, et cetera. So I don't know what those plans are. I don't know what the engineering is. I don't know anything about the way we're planning to manage that, but you can obviously expect that, being on a well, that it's going to be very concerning, not just in the immediate, but 10 years down the road, what's it going to look like? And so what's the long-term plan to help ensure that we don't have a disaster on the water side? That goes for myself and the other neighbors on this side.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan. So that was Mr. Vinup. We do have, I think, Kelly Yoakum. Are you on the line there?
I am.
Okay, and Kelly, you're going to talk about sort of the berm and the barriers, sort of the buffer zone, if you will. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's correct. Hello, I'm Kelly Yoakum. My husband, Greg Yoakum, and I live at 423 Jack Pine Drive. So we are neighbors to Dan and Rebecca Vinup. And so we would be also east of the proposed Hudson Physicians project. And so, We agree with Dan's words, not necessary to repeat that, but another concern of my husband and I and our neighbors is I know that there has been talk about a berm or some type of a barrier, and we just want to be involved in the process, us as a neighborhood, in the discussion of the length, the width, the look of that. Right now, we look at a woods in our backyard, and we want to maintain that woods. And our property is named Walden Woods. And so to maintain the look and feel of the neighborhood the way that it's been for decades, that's a concern of ours. There was talk of trees being planted on top of the berm. So that, again, is of importance to us as a neighborhood. We also, would hope that we can have some type of voice in that, and that it could be something of evergreen nature, nice looking trees that would provide coverage throughout the year, not just seasonally, but again, to hide as a barrier and a buffer. Again, if we can be part of the discussion on the berm and the blockage.
Thank you, Kelly. And then I think the last one to speak from this group is Brian on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and Brian, I think you were going to talk about sort of the fencing potentially, and lighting and noise. And just to be clear, you are a neighbor as well, but you're to the east of the project property, right? To the north, not to the east.
Correct. I'm speaking for my dad and mom, Ben and Lee, and myself and Lynn. We have both pieces of property on the north. I'm on the northeast, they're on the north center behind the new complex. And we were talking about the fences and what they do for noise and light protection and snow removal concerns. I'll talk about the fence and noise light issue first. What are they using? Are they going to use the evergreen trees like Kelly was saying, like spruce? We don't know for sure. And in doing that, there wouldn't be enough property for them to put the trees on top of, going north, there's no room for berms on my property or my mom and dad's behind the parking lot behind the building. So they'd be putting retaining walls up and down, and to put trees, they wouldn't have room to do it. So we would say it'd be fine with both of us property owners if they put those trees on our land to help for the protection of the light and noise, etc. And they were also talking about fences on top of those retaining blocks. We're wondering what kind of fence they would be. A light protection, would it be the same type of fencing that would wrap their garbage containers so it hides them from everybody's view? Secondly, I want to talk about the snow removal. With the chemicals and everything in it, where will they move it to? Where will it melt to? Where will it drain to? Will it be going to the holding pond? If so, what's going on with the holding pond? Does it pump through the city's sewer system? Basically, what is the plan on the fencing, and what is the plan on the snow removal? We need to know that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mayor, these are all concerns, obviously, of these three neighbors, and then, or more than that, 4 neighbors, as some of them were speaking for others as well. And the idea of the conditional use, obviously, the property is going to be used for a business, and that conditional use of this property will obviously have an effect on the neighbors to the north, on the neighbors to the east, and ask that the Plan Commission and Council consider all of those concerns in making, whether there's going to be special conditions or approval of whether it's tonight the conditional use permit or in the future the consideration and potential approval of the developer's agreement and the final plans, etc. So for tonight, obviously it's a conditional use permit consideration, but given that it is the use of the property, I think all of those concerns by the neighbors will be affected by the use of the property. And so we'd ask you to consider all of that.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. Everybody? Anybody? Tiffany, you got anything? Oh, that's right. Well, all right. So are there any other comments? Any other comments? Any other comments?
I've got one thing to add.
Okay.
Please go.
Okay, my name is Greg Helland. I live at 421 Jack Pine Drive. And when we were discussing this yesterday, we were just wondering what is the hours of operations that they would propose for Hudson Physicians? And then also for construction, what would the hours for constructing the significant building be?
Okay.
I think that's all I had to add.
All right. Thank you. Any other comments?
I move we close
Any other comments?
when it's appropriate.
Any other comments?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. Public hearing is closed.
So the applicants, Hudson Physicians, are desirous of operating a multi-use medical office facility at 2651 Hillcrest Drive.
Speak up.
The intent of the CUP is to develop the land for use as an integrated medical campus facility that would house Hudson Physicians' main clinic, a surgery center, and other ancillary health providers. The building is proposed to be 3 stories tall and would include 13 business units or suites. In relation to the CUP application, a neighborhood informational meeting was held on March 29th at 6 p.m. The meeting was attended by 5 households, 1 council rep, 1 city staff rep, and the applicant. Additionally, staff received a letter yesterday from the attorney's office of the residential neighbors surrounding this property, which was forwarded to all plan commissioners prior to this meeting. Before we move into discussion, I do kind of want to open the floor to our applicant representative here tonight, if he cares to answer any of the questions that were provided during the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Plan Commission. My name is Nick Vivian. I represent Hudson Physicians on this project and have done so since its inception. The report that you have in front of you is correct. As you know, there are many phases to the approval of this particular project. We're here tonight to review the application for conditional use permit. So in your code, you make certain uses permitted, but conditionally upon the type of use and what you hear from neighbors and residents and whatnot. This particular use is for a multi-use medical office facility. So as you think about what you're here to consider, the question is, do you think it is appropriate to recommend to the city council the approval of a medical office facility in this particular location? I'm sympathetic and understand a lot of the concerns that have been raised by the neighbors. They've been raised since the beginning of this process. The neighbors live in the town. This property is now in the city, and it's understandable that they want to make sure that their properties are protected. And from the start of this process, we have pledged to work with the neighbors. At this point, though, the consideration is not necessarily about all of the site-specific requirements. That comes as part of your review and consideration of the development plan and the development agreement, which is the agreement between Hudson Physicians and the city to make sure that Hudson Physicians is building out the property right. The question tonight and the question before the Plan Commission is it prudent to allow for the medical office use to locate and operate in this location? And we certainly submit that it is. This property is a commercial property. It is in the city's commercial corridor along Carmichael Road. It is consistent with everything else that has been developed in that particular area within the city. We also think that this will be a great asset to the community, will bring jobs to the community, will provide resources to the community, and will expand upon what we have here in the form of medical care and medical services. So from the perspective of use in this location, we think it's entirely appropriate. Again, we understand that the concerns that Mr. Anderson has raised and that his clients have raised as we continue to develop the site and work through the site, through development approval, development plan approval, and the development agreement. We'll continue to work to address the issues as best we can with those residents. And I'm happy to take any comments that you might have, or questions that you might have.
Nick, is it possible to get those answers to the questions the next time you guys are before us?
Absolutely. Yeah, I
In
think
particular, the water is concerning as well to me,
yeah.
on what's going on with it.
Yeah, and I think we can certainly have information provided by our engineers. Your code is very specific in terms of stormwater and how we infiltrate. There are ponds that are required. Then there are a number of other features that are required as a part of the development process. So we can certainly provide the detail. We'll have those discussions as well as we're before you for development plan approval. Your process requires that we see you twice in that process, one for preliminary consideration and one for final consideration. So we're happy to provide that information.
And as you have worked in the past with different clients of yours and different developments in the city, you have and addressed almost, if not all, concerns by the surrounding residents on the developments in the past that you've represented. And that's what I expect with this as well.
Absolutely. Every property is a little different, right? And the layout with buildings. But the one thing that is not different on any site is the fact that your code is consistently applied against every single development. So we have setback requirements, we have screening requirements, we have stormwater requirements. Everything that's been raised, we have a lighting plan. Obviously lighting is a concern. Hours of operation is a fair consideration, right? And so these houses abut now a commercial property, and it's fair to ask, what are those hours of operation? And so, absolutely. I mean, we have to take all of those things in consideration as we develop the plan for operation for the site, and we're more than happy to provide that information as we move forward.
I'll move we accept the conditional use permit with conditions.
I'd second that.
Got a motion, a second, discussion?
Again, I just want to make sure that all of that process is in place as we go forward with this project for those residents. And you've been a good steward of doing it on the last development, so we need to continue that.
Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Public hearing on a conditional use permit application for massage business at 615 Maxwell Drive, Unit 3. Once again, this is a public hearing. This is your opportunity to make comments on this agenda item. Keep in mind, once again, if you are commenting from Zoom, please unmute yourself. Are there any comments? Are there any comments? Are there any comments?
Move to close.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Public hearing's closed. Public hearing, discussion possible action, I'm sorry, I got lost in the agenda. Discussion possible action on a conditional use permit application for massage business at 615 Maxwell Drive, Unit 3, Swan Massage.
Thank you. So Swan Massage has submitted a conditional use permit application for a massage business at Unit 3 of 1615 Maxwell Drive. The proposed services would include various massage therapies such as deep tissue, hot stone massage, and other massage experiences. The facility will include a reception area, 4 treatment rooms, and a break room with laundry facilities. The applicant plans to be the only therapist in the early stages of the business, and then have a receptionist to greet customers and do administrative tasks. The proposed hours of operation are 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Sunday, and those are suggested conditions of approval would be to limit the business hours to the proposed Monday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. If this were to be approved. Additionally, staff has not received any comments from neighboring properties or neighboring businesses, and a neighborhood meeting was hosted on April 19th. Additionally, the applicant is in attendance over Zoom, so if you have any specific questions, you can certainly pose them.
All right, anybody got any questions?
It would be just nice for her to give us a rundown of, of what she's gonna do there. I mean, so I know and then people know. Other than, the basic bonus description that we received, the hours and deep tissue and all that stuff, but, just to, hear what her business plan is and what she, plans on doing. If, a minute or two swipe at that would be nice, please. So the owner.
Is the owner here?
Hi, I'm the because the owner doesn't really speak much English, so I'm here to help her to attend the meeting.
Okay.
So basically, she's going to provide different kinds of meetings, so like hot stone massage, or like a deep tissue, or Swedish. That will be a lighter style of massage. So it really depends on the requirement of the customers. And in the early stage, she's gonna be the only one, but she's gonna have someone to try to spread the words, market it, do some marketing to attract some customers. But in the long term, she's planning to hire another 1 or 2 therapists in the stores to attract more business.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Do we have a motion?
So what's next then? What do we do here?
Looking for a motion.
So is there any questions?
We've got a motion
Thank
to
you very
accept.
much.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve. Discussion?
The city's muted right now.
They can't hear us.
Nate,
Yeah, somebody has to take back over.
can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
What's that say?
Mary Claire? Fred? Kim? Kim, we need you to unmute. Jesus Christ. Yeah, these Zoom meetings are great. Can you hear me yet?
No, it's still.
Can Emily hear us? Can anybody hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Just
How do
the
we get the
council
meeting going
chambers
here?
are off.
Yes. And I can only ask to unmute. I can't
Okay.
Mary Claire?
give Kim a second to see if she can work it out.
I look good in orange.
Technical problems.
Can you hear us?
Oh,
Can you hear us?
yes,
There
we
we
can
go.
hear
Now you
you.
can.
All right.
Move to approve with condition.
All right, we have a motion to approve with the conditions in place. Is there a
Hey, Rich,
second?
can you review who made the motion?
Oh, Frank did.
Okay,
And I'll second it.
thank you.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action on final development plans for Quick Trip store expansion of 2401 Crestview Drive, Quick Trip, Inc.
I'll move we approve with the following conditions as stated.
We got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I will do that.
Got a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action on concept development plans for Boucher Apartments at St. Croix County Tax Parcel 236-2041-00-000 Hudson Ventures LLC.
All right, so the applicant has submitted concept development plans for a 65-unit apartment building on the northwest corner of the Hanley Road and Old Highway 35 intersection. The project proposes a mix of studio, 1 and 2 bed dwelling units, along with underground garage and surface parking and fitness, media, and party room amenities. Additional amenities proposed outdoors include a landscape patio, a 10-foot wide multi-use trail along Old Highway 35 connecting down to Hanley Road, a landscape patio, yeah, I already said that, fenced dog park, and a children's play area. Also noted on the plan set, you'll all see that there's actually a proposed public park of 2.54 acres to the west of the property. This new park proposal was brought forward to the park board at its June 1st meeting, where it was found that the proposal needed to be further reviewed for the financial side of things. So with that, city staff is recommending approval of the concept development plans for the Boucher Apartments with listed conditions, unless you have any questions for the applicant tonight.
I have a question, Tiffany.
Yep.
Do we know any, what the range of the rents will be for the studio on up for these apartments?
We've been told market rate.
Right, but right.
Yeah.
Right. But do you have a number?
I know what you mean. It could mean a variety of things.
Yeah.
So, no, we haven't been given any numbers on that.
Is the applicant available to respond to that question?
You speaking for them, Nick?
Yeah, and I think, Nick Vivian, I represent the applicant on this project, and this is another project that has a lengthy history to it. I think Dick Morris may be on as well, and can speak to the question as well, but these are market rate apartments. So typically on the lower end for the studios, you're looking at about $1,000 or under, somewhere in that range. And our pro forma in the past has had the larger apartments in the $1,500 to $1,600 per month range.
I think that's correct.
Okay. Anybody else?
Was this the same proposal that we heard a year ago from an older gentleman, up there? Is this that same one?
This is the same property that we're talking about, but it is a different proposal. So
Okay.
you'll recall that this property was originally purchased from a bank that had taken it back, and originally the proposal that the applicant was seeking was 150 units on this particular site with a corresponding rezone to allow for that particular density. Over time, we've had discussions with the town of Hudson. We've had discussions with city staff. You'll also recall that part of the consideration here was Meadowlark Lane to the north, which was proposed at one point to be an access through the neighborhood, and then access out onto Old 35, which the town of Hudson had jurisdiction over until recently, when the city and the town entered into a cooperative agreement for the maintenance and approval of access. There have been a number of different developments there, not the least of which is the completion of that particular cooperative agreement, which allowed this particular proposal to be pared back to 65 units, the elimination of any use of Meadowlark Lane, which was in response to the residents' concerns, and the sole primary access out to Highway 35 combining the access point for the park and ride with this particular site so that we're not including or increasing another access onto Old 35. So it's a scaled back version of the prior plan, the prior proposal. The other thing that is much different on this one is that, well, with the other proposals, we've had to include a certain park area. In working with city staff, it was determined that there are some impact fees that the city has available for a park, particularly with respect to this area, that the city doesn't have any parkland in this area of the community. And so in working together and collaborating, we've identified the opportunity for a 2.5 acre park and then trails that connect through from Meadowlark to 35 and then down to Hanley, which will then allow the neighborhood to access Heritage Greens and Red Cedar Canyon and Whitcamp Park to provide connectivity to that neighborhood, which doesn't currently exist today. So this is a development where, I can say without question that time has created a better opportunity for the city. It's, I think, created a better development that's allowed for more connectivity, more green space, and I think we've arrived at a pretty good spot. Now, obviously, there are some complexities here yet in terms of negotiating, just how the developer sells that property, what the purchase price of that property is, but we're going to get through that. I don't think there's going to be any issue with that piece of it. And overall, I think it's become a really good plan, a really solid plan, and a win-win for both sides. So it does differ significantly from what was presented previously, and I think we've arrived at a pretty good spot for both sides.
Nick, would you consider this affordable housing? I think to Mary Claire's possibly question.
Well, the question is always, what do people view as affordable housing? It's not subsidized housing, and it's not income qualified housing, but the intention is to provide for housing that is affordable for people that want to live in this community. And as we've reviewed housing studies within the East Metro and Western Wisconsin, we know that there's a need for about 1,400 apartment units in the region. We've started to address that in Hudson with the approval of a handful of new apartment complexes, adding in the potential for roughly about 400 to 500 units. But there is still a lot of need in the community for folks that frankly can't afford to buy a $300,000 to $400,000 to $500,000 house. So when you look at it from that perspective, this will be affordable for those families that can afford to come in and purchase for the first time at the values that we're seeing for a lot of those properties today.
Okay.
Nick, this started out at, it was 2 buildings, wasn't it?
No, well, there have been various plans, but it's always, I think, if I remember back correctly, been one large building.
So, but the concentration was what, we were talking
150.
150 units?
Correct.
And because of problems that we had with Meadowlark area, the access up there, as well as the perhaps more serious problems that we had with the town of Hudson as far as access to Hanley and Carmichael, or Old 35 rather, this got pared down to 65 units, which again goes to cost, right? I mean, you cut this by about 2/3, and you still, so you have to be able to make up for the cost on that, and those were some of the concessions that had to be made in order to make this work. So it's scaled down significantly, and there was a lot of work that went into this.
And I would also say it's important to note that this developer is the same developer that did the Lee property development. So as an indication of quality and as an indication of how they view development, take a look at the Massey down on Carmichael and Mayor and how that building is coming. That's going to be representative of what you're going to see here. Now, that's going to be a little bit bigger. That's 83 or 84 units. This is a 65 unit building, but this developer has done a very good job of working with neighbors, working with residents, making sure that the site flows. And this is a complicated site. You look at it and say, well, how could 6 acres be complicated? Well, it's complicated with the town having jurisdiction and with the neighborhood of single-family homes and the way that this sits. I mean, it wasn't long ago that this property was zoned for commercial use. Well, what in the world would have gone in from a commercial perspective? A gas station, perhaps? I mean, it's not suited for that particular use. So identifying a density, identifying a developer that can come in and make the site work, working with the complexities of the site, there has been a lot of work that's gone into it. And we appreciate the work that the city has done in working with us to try to identify an appropriate use that works for everybody.
Yeah. All right, do we have a motion?
I'll move we
Make
approve.
it to accept it with conditions.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action on a certified survey map. Extraterritorial zone town of Hudson at 669 County Road N. Richard Pearson.
All right, so Town of Hudson, property owner Richard Pearson has submitted a CSM to subdivide his property at 669 County Road N with the intent for a single-family dwelling use. The property is located within the city's extraterritorial zone and is thereby subject to our review. So with that, the new 2.51 acre parcel will be divided from the existing agricultural lot. The building site is proposed to be accessed through the driveway access easement west of the new parcel, directly across from the entrance to Baker Road, so it'll be perpendicular and line up perfectly with that. This subdivision has also been approved by the Town of Hudson and is conditionally approved by the county. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the CSM at 669 County Road N.
So moved.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Yes.
Motion and a second, discussion?
May I ask a question? Is that in that area of land by the Mayo where they have purchased land to the east of them?
This is further east.
This is out on exit 4.
Exit 4, thank you. Okay, that's it.
Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action on a home occupation license certificate of compliance at 215 Liberty Street. Lindsay Kundinger.
Ms. Kundinger has submitted a home occupation application to operate an frozen Italian food pickup business at her home at 215 Liberty Street. She would prepare and freeze Italian food in her commercial kitchen, which would be installed in her home. The meals would be available for pickup Monday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. The applicant expects approximately 1 to 5 orders per week. Customers would be able to park in the applicant's driveway or in front of her home on the street. All of the neighboring properties that she was able to get in contact with on Liberty Street are in support of her home occupation permit proposal. Also, Lindsay is in attendance over Zoom if you have any further questions, but staff recommends approval with the listed conditions.
Anybody?
Is this,
So it looks like several of the residents were unable to be contacted?
There were a couple residents on Liberty Street that she attempted to contact multiple times and was unable to contact them. Typically, staff does require just the adjacent property owners to sign off. And in this case, Lindsay went above and beyond and went to all the neighbors along the whole entire Liberty Street.
Sorry, I think I interrupted you, Randy.
that's all right. Emily, is this required her to have a restaurant license?
Lindsay has been working, and she can speak to this a little bit more, but she's been working with both the county health department and our building inspector. So she'll be installing a commercial kitchen for the food production and have a building permit for that. In terms of a business, I'm not sure if it qualifies for that for a restaurant because it's frozen food that would be picked up and taken away.
Well, I would assume that the county health inspector would look through sanitary conditions and on an annual inspection, just like any other restaurant required in the city of Hudson.
Yep.
That's a yes, that they will be inspected.
Yep, so she's going to work with the county for the health department. And of course, as always, as a condition of approval, we listed that the applicant adhere to all state, federal, and local permitting requirements so that she, pursue those options with the county.
I have a question in respect to size and potential growth if she's successful, which we would all hope, and business is booming and traffic is increasing. At what point does the city say, and or we're in a different situation now where you got a business generating all kinds of traffic up in that neighborhood? I guess I would, is there a cutoff point where, traffic gets to the point? Is that part of the, the agreement here? We wish her success, but we also don't want disruption, to maintain the neighborhood as it is. So I guess I would like to know what are the protections of that, in the case of, Wiley says, is it all commercial customers? Is it individual takeout? Is it retail? What kind of, that all makes a big difference. Would like to hear about that, please.
We have the owner on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
So I know that I've been working with Ed Thurman, and he didn't give me like a specific number to where I would have to move my business in a residential area or a rental, business area. Obviously, I think Emily and I spoke about that too, where if it did get, more customers, then I would have to then, move my business elsewhere out of the residential area and into like a commercial area.
Okay, so you batted it around then.
Yes, I have. I just figured I'd start at my home first and build my commercial kitchen. And then, I hope to be more than just my home someday. And I will look into, if it is successful, then I will look into a bigger area where it'll be a commercial area.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
I'll move we recommend approval with conditions as laid out.
I'll second. Oh, Mary did it.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action on a downtown design review for 419 2nd Street, VO Sign Inc.
So the applicant, on behalf of the business owner, submitted requests for a sign permit and downtown design review to permit a wall sign at 419 2nd Street. The wall sign is proposed to be 18.33 square feet in area and unlit. The location of the sign will be placed centrally on the front facade within the area of the shingles and the mounting frame. The sign meets the 10% max wall area allowance requirement in municipal code, therefore staff recommends approval of the downtown design review certificate for 21 nails to install a wall sign.
Okay.
Just a quick question. So will they continue to have the other sign that kind of jets out of the building too, in addition to this sign?
Are you talking about that projecting sign
Yes,
bar that's
yes.
extending? I will note in the permit that they should remove that just to clean up the wall a bit. But if you want to add that as a condition of approval too, that wouldn't hurt.
Well, is it currently allowed, or, are they meeting the guidelines? It's just a lot of kind of sign.
A lot of clutter, yeah, I agree. Currently, yeah, they're meeting code requirements, but it would be.
I guess
nice to
I'd be
see-
interested in other commission members' thoughts on that. If putting that as part of the condition or just leaving it is fine. Anyone have a thought on that?
Yes, I feel they're replacing that sign with this new one, so let's get rid of the old one. And then it also keeps them within the parameters of the allowable square footage, where it would be, in my opinion, they have two signs that then exceed it, by leaving the other one up. not the allowable square footage of the sign. I mean, I realize that you only measure one, but it would have, when you add the two together, you'd have quite a bit. So that's my thinking.
Agreed.
Who made the motion? I would put it in as a condition, I guess.
You're making a motion?
No, there was no motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve this, but with the addition of removing of the old sign to allow the new sign to be put up. And any other that are present, asked for by the city.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yes.
Got a motion and a second, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action on a downtown design review certificate for 523 Second Street Cafe Nourish, or Nourish.
I think it's Nourish. So this one's a little more in-depth. They're proposing several facade changes, including cleaning the existing tan-colored bricks and changing the color to an off-white with black accents, removing the existing fabric awning and replacing it with a black aluminum awning, removing the existing windows and replacing them with black framed low-E storefront glass, and a signage proposal of a projecting sign and channel letter wall signage, which will be internally illuminated. Although the proposed signage hasn't been formally applied for yet, all signs are intended to look as shown in the rendering in your packets and will be required to be within the dimensional requirements outlined in code. Staff finds the changes to meet downtown design requirements, although we did want to note that it does point out in one section about bright white being limited to 15% of the facade. So something to consider, but we feel off-white is separate from bright white, and so the off-white would be meeting code. So feel free to discuss. Otherwise, we recommend approval.
I'll move, we approve.
We got a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Yes.
I
Got a
will
motion and
second
a
it,
second to
but
approve.
I also want to wait on the sign part of it, because if they haven't done it, I want to leave that off our approval this time and say that has to be done when they're ready. But otherwise, I'm fine with it, because otherwise we're approving a sign and we don't know what it is by the description we received.
So you're looking for an exact square footage of the signs that are being proposed, even though
Well,
they'll be
like
required
we
to
do-
meet code?
Like we do with everybody else, correct?
Yeah, that's what we've been doing with everyone else.
Yeah. I mean, I'm only trying to be fair. I'm not trying to be penal here.
Good point, Fred.
Well, I think before we issue the permit, we should know what it's at, right?
That's fair.
Does that satisfy you, Chuck, or Fred? Chuck.
George?
Harry?
Chuck?
Bill?
So what do you want to do? You want to hold this over?
No, I'm saying we could, at the time of permit,
When they turn in the sign permit, we'll re-review.
we can review it,
Okay.
approved on condition.
Is that your motion?
Yeah.
All right.
And I second it with that amendment.
Okay. You got that, Emily?
Yes, so I have that it's the facade being approved and that signage should be brought back when submitted.
Yep. Okay, so we got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. All right, I don't have anything. Anybody?
Move to adjourn?
Second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. We stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Good
Thank you.
Dobbin.
Killing trees.